Today we're gonna make an amazing recipe for a chocolate caramel poke cake with coconut mousse. Okay, so let's make this cake. We start with a bowl where we're gonna add our room temperature butter, granulated sugar and some vanilla extract. Start your robot to slow speed and then proceed to medium fast speed until that sugar is incorporated in the butter. Now stop and add your cocoa powder and let it mix in there for a few more minutes. Start with low speed again if you don't want to cover your room in cocoa powder, of course. And as usually with our cakes, don't forget to scrape the sides if necessary. Now it's time to add 3 eggs and mix again for 2 minutes. Can you add everything at once? Not really, we really need that butter to combine well with the sugar and cocoa powder before adding the eggs, so one step at a time. After those 2 minutes, scrape the sides again because that's what we do here, and check if it's mixed well. As you can see, mine wasn't mixed that well, so I'm gonna give it another try. This cake works better with a hand mixer, but mine broke a few days ago. Okay, now it's mixed well, so we're gonna add the coconut milk and a little milk. We need that splash of milk because we need some more liquid in there. Coconut milk, it's more creamy. Now sift your flour in there, add baking powder and a little salt. Give it a mix until it is incorporated. Don't worry about overworking this, the mixer will mix this in under 1 minute. If you have to scrape the sides, use a spatula and incorporate the rest of the flour by folding. Cut your dark chocolate in your preferable size and add it to the cake and fold it a little. Take a cake form and add parchment paper. Butter the sides and I can't wait to show you how hard it is to get this cake out of the damn form because of the caramel. Anyway, add your cake mixture, spread it as evenly as you can. A silicone spatula really helps for this. Cook it at 175 degrees Celsius for around 35 minutes. Do a toothpick test to see if it's ready, but be careful because you will have melty chocolate in there. But the cake is not too thick, so it should be ready. While the cake is baking, you could help this channel by leaving a like and subscribe. After the cake gets to room temperature, let's make the caramel. Add the sugar in a saucepan and the water. Put it on medium heat and just don't touch it until you see that it starts to change the color. In that time, get your heavy cream and put it on low heat to warm it up. Have the butter at room temperature too. When the sugar gets that nice caramel color, add your warm heavy cream on top while on lowest heat and start mixing. If you add the heavy cream cold, you will give the caramel a temperature shock and will have a high chance of crystallization, and you will most likely ruin it. Same with the butter, that's why it needs to be at room temperature and not cold. While you add the butter, you should remove it from the heat and just start mixing till that butter melts nicely. Now transfer it to a bowl. If the cake is at room temperature, let's give it some pokes. This really depends on your taste, you can use a straw and make smaller holes or even bigger holes with the back of a spatula. I prefer mine somehow medium size. I use the back of a small honey spoon or honey stick for doing this. After you finished poking the cake, it is time to add the caramel. Add enough to fill those holes and make a thin layer. Just make sure you save enough caramel for drizzle on top, but you can always make more. The caramel will go on the sides, but use a spatula and just move it around and it will start to get into the cake more and cool down at the same time. After you've done that, put it in the fridge for around 1-2 hours. Before removing it from the fridge, we need to make our coconut mousse. So we need a glass where we're gonna have our gelatin with cold water and then add the glass into a bowl with hot water. This helps dissolve the gelatin. In another bowl I have some sweetened whipping cream and some vanilla extract and mix it till you get stiff peaks. Now we need our coconut cream to be warm. Add the gelatin that should be dissolved by now and give it a mix. We need to add some of that whipping cream and mix it a little. This will cool down the coconut cream even more. After mixing it, add it over the whipping cream and fold it. You need to be careful here, so take your time. Now get the cake out from the fridge and fill the holes with more caramel because the cake absorbed some of it for sure. Add the mousse on top. Try to spread it evenly with the help of a spatula and in the fridge it goes overnight, or at least 6 hours. Please have patience because it is really important for the mousse to set. Next day I get it out from the cake form and I'm adding some toasted coconut flakes, some coconut chips and drizzle some more caramel on top. Make your own design, I have no talent when it comes to cake designs, so yeah. Now the hard part is to cut it. Be careful because that caramel got into the parchment paper for sure and it will stick. and it will stick like hell. You have to cut the parchment paper with a knife too when you cut the cake, and then try to take the cake slowly and remove the parchment paper from the cake like I do here. Also be careful because you have chunks of chocolate in there, so it will be a little hard to cut through them. Anyway, I'm not gonna bore you with this part, so fast forward where we cut a big piece of cake in smaller pieces, ready to serve. I'm more than happy with this end result. That cake texture is really amazing and the coconut mousse is super fluffy. You get an interesting tasting experience while eating this because the cake it is infused with that caramel, then you have some crunch from the coconut chips and the chocolate inside the cake, and that mousse just melts in your mouth. Be careful not to oversweet the mousse, since the cake is sweet enough and you also have the caramel there. Anyway, this is my recipe of chocolate caramel poke cake with coconut mousse. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like, subscribe and hit the bell for more as I post every week. See ya next time!